Hi, so today I'll be preparing hearty mixed vegetable noodle soup. Now fall has arrived, and so I'm making this dish to celebrate the coming of fall. Now a lot of the food during the holidays tends to be very heavy and will weigh you down, but this dish that I'm making today is a wonderful contrast to that. It is light, flavorful, and yet doesn't have all those calories. So I'm excited to teach you how to make this dish that will awaken your senses. So now I'm gonna start building the layers of flavor to my broth. I have here 8 cups of organic vegetable broth, and I'm gonna start adding the ingredients. Now here I have about 12 cloves of garlic, and that equals to about 1 head of garlic. And then I have 8 slices of ginger. I like to slice them big like this because I can then remove them after they're cooked. So it's just easier for removal. In they go. Next, I add in half a sweet onion that I've diced. And finally, I have a medium carrot that I've sliced. And this adds a lot of sweetness to the broth. So I'm gonna cover it and let it go. So now I have the broth kind of going, and I'm gonna start preparing all my vegetables that will be added on at a later stage. I'm actually gonna introduce to you these vegetables that I love, and they're very Asian vegetables because I'm Asian, so you know we're gonna go pretty exotic here. It's not really exotic, it's just you might be unfamiliar. You know, like this is daikon radish, and it's actually used in a lot of Japanese and Chinese cooking. I know it looks kind of scary, but it's really not, and I assure you it's really flavorful. I peel the daikon radish to remove the fibrous skin. Then I slice it. So I've cut up all my radish, and now I'm gonna attack my second vegetable, and this is golden enoki mushrooms. I make sure to remove the base of the enoki mushrooms. So I tend to like to slice it into half because they get really long, and I like to disperse them through the broth, and it has such great crunch. Now over here I have these dried shitake mushrooms that have been soaking for a couple of hours. Now you can use fresh shitake mushrooms if you like, but for this dish I'm gonna go with the dried ones because they actually have a deeper flavor. I make thick slices of these shiitake mushrooms to showcase their meatiness. This is baby bok choy. Now I have about 5 to 6 bunches of baby bok choy, and I've previously washed them, and now I'm just gonna cut them up. I just like to slice them once through, just like that. Stems and leaves. So here I have about 20 pieces of organic butternut squash that I bought from the store that have been pre-cut because I am just extremely lazy. Mainly, the reason why I'm using butternut squash is because it's got this lovely sweetness, and it's just gonna add this extra dimension of richness to my broth. So it's been half an hour. I'm gonna check on my soup. Oh, the carrots, ginger, and garlic have softened, thus releasing their flavors into the soup. Time to add in the shiitake mushrooms, as well as the daikon radish. Now, this is when I let the radish cook for about 15 minutes, and I want it to get soft before I throw in the rest of the ingredients. 15 minutes later, I add in the butternut squash. I'm using butternut squash in this dish to celebrate fall, since it is after all a fall vegetable. So I want to cover the pot, let it go for another 15 minutes because I want the butternut squash to be cooked through. And then we're going to add the last of our ingredients, which is the enoki mushroom and the bok choy. So we're now at the last stage of making the broth. I'm gonna see how it's going. Yes, the butternut squash is cooked. I can see that it's soft, and so is the daikon and everything else. I'm gonna be adding mushroom seasoning. This is the Puluku brand, which is my favorite brand. This is mushroom extract without MSG or preservatives. So very popular in Asian vegetarian cooking. I add in 3 tablespoons of mushroom seasoning. Now I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of salt just to give it a slight kick. Then I toss in the enoki mushrooms, followed by the bok choy. Now the bok choy and the enoki mushrooms cook really quickly, so that's why I like to add them right at the end once everything else has cooked. And this is just the finishing touch. So now this is on low heat. I'm gonna let it go for a little while. In the meantime, I'm gonna heat up my 2 pots here of water. This is for my noodles. So I'm gonna be cooking 2 types of noodles. One is a brown rice pad thai noodle, and then the other one is mung bean threads, which is kind of like a transparent glass noodle. Now the reason why I like cooking 2 types of noodles is I like a mixture of texture in this dish, and I like to spoil myself with excess, so I'm one of those people. So here I'm gonna put in my pad thai rice noodle, the bean thread noodles. So I'm gonna just spoon in a little bit of each noodle. Look at these luscious vegetables. They are so ready to be devoured. Get some butternut squash. This is really a complete meal. Sprinkle some green onion on top for garnish. So now I'm gonna taste this dish, which is a day's worth of hard work because this dish does take its time. So it's going for the kill with the noodles. Look at these strands of deliciousness. This dish definitely lives up to its reputation as being nourishing, flavorful, yet light. It's got everything in it. These vegetables with all the different textures and flavors. I am so happy right now. I'm just gonna retire to my couch and finish all of this and then have another bowl and another and another and another, because this is not going anywhere and it's all for me.
Stubborn nature dictates I come back for more. Oh no, love, it's written in the stars above. Now the bull and the scorpion, they've been dying since they first held on.